slowly.
Welcome to the GUT Club for the month of November 2019. The presenting hospital security forces. We have two cases. First case will be presented by Dr. Abdurrahman. Dr. Abdurrahman is a resident physician at security forces in internal medicine. He showed an interest to participate with us in this event because he saw the patient and he is the one who admitted her. So, we can start.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Hamid Khadmani for allowing me to present this case. So I'm going to present today a 15-year-old female who's not known to have any medical illnesses who presented to our clinic complaining, gastroenterology clinic complaining that she's having an infrequent loss of stool associated with rectal bleeding that's happened with her for the last 4 months. The patient visited a private dispensary in which they diagnosed her as a dysentery and they started her an antibiotic medication, metronidazole. For the course of the 4 months, she visited them for 3 times. She had some improvement, however, she came for further evaluation. During the course of the illness, the patient did not complain from any abdominal pain, no fever, no loss of consciousness, no night sweat, no hematemesis, no melena. It was only fresh blood, no skin rash, no joint pain, no vomiting, no dysphagia, no jaundice, no perianal discharges, and there was no shortness of breath or chest pain. Upon systemic review, it was remarkable. The family history was negative for chronic illnesses or malignancies or inflammatory bowel disease per se. And no one has listed the presentation before. Her past medical and surgical history was unremarkable. Vaccination history was completed for her during the pediatric age group, and regarding the adult vaccination, she did not receive the influenza vaccine. Regarding the medication, when she was visiting the private dispensary, they found that she has a low level of hemoglobin, so they started her infevosporium rate in addition to the antibiotics she received. Regarding her social history, she was having good school performance. She lives in Riyadh, no recent travels, no contact with animals. She has a full brother and 1 sister, all apparently healthy. Regarding her menstrual history, she got menarche at the age of 13. She has a regular period with 7 days of bleeding, with no heavy bleeding or no abnormalities seen with it. Upon evaluating the patient in the examination, she looks well and comfort. Generally, the vital signs were normal. Her BMI was 21. When we did the abdominal examination for her in the clinic, there was a mild tenderness on the palpation at the left lower quadrants. Otherwise, it was remarkable, and BR examination was not performed at the clinic. Other system examination was unremarkable for us. So during her visit to the clinic, we asked the patient to do some lab investigation. We gave her also a request for stool exam, abdominal X-ray, and we booked the patient for colonoscopy within 2 weeks from her presentation.
So, in summary, this is a 15-year-old woman. She has no chronic illnesses. Over the last 4 months, she had a history of infrequent loose motion associated with occasional bloody stool. She was evaluated many times at private dispensary and given antibiotic metronidazole and given oral iron. And she came for further evaluation. So, any thought, any differential diagnosis, and what is the next step?
First definition, colitis in young ladies. Thank you. A lot of differential, but first differential, according to the data, she has anemia, possibly microcytic iron deficiency, long-standing history with abdominal pain and bloody diarrhea intermittent. So first differential is inflammatory bowel disease. So we should complement our test with stool, etc. culture, and for sure colonoscopy. This is the first line.
Any other differential?
In the old days, we used to think about tuberculosis before IBD.
So infectious, chronic infections like TB, inflammatory bowel disease like ulcerative
pregnancy, although also he is not knowing it, but pregnancy should be better than differential diagnosis.
So cancers, but less likely because of the age. Familial Mediterranean fever.
Ultimately.
But she's lacking ultimately, no?
She's from there.
Yes, she's from Riyadh.
So the day to day was diarrhea and blood
So it's not typical diarrhea, it's infrequent loose motion, occasional, with occasional bleeding of the rectum. So it's not typical diarrhea. This is the history.
How old?
15 years.
What about the possibility of vasculitis?
Okay, one of the differential diagnosis vasculitis.
Tissue disorders?
However, she is lacking other symptoms, pain, skin rash, other extra-intestinal manifestations. But she's lacking pain, she's lacking vascular crash. Yeah. So next step is our plan. Agree with our plan. Basic lab investigation, X-rays, and colonoscopy within 2 weeks.
So this is the investigation that she did done after the patient is admitted. As we can see, the patient is having a low hemoglobin level of 6.5 and low hematocrit and low MCT also. Regarding the liver function test, it was remarkable for her. The urea and
1 minute. The strange thing, if we are thinking about chronic inflammatory process or chronic disease, albumin is normal for her. So this is one of the inflammatory markers. We're going with nutritional. So albumin is normal. Here the electrolyte renal function is normal as well.
So moving forward towards the inflammatory markers, we found out that the patient is having an ESR of 61, CRP was 3.7. Regarding the stool exams, we can see it was negative for alpine peroxide and for CDIL, and the fecal calprotectin were requested for her, and it came up positive of 147.3.
So does this lab help us in the differential diagnosis? Calprotectin, if we are thinking of IBD, usually it will be higher with the stand number. 147 is lowish for inflammatory bowel disease who's not in treatment.
Case of segmental colitis would be low like this.
Okay. Yes,
It's a good negative test, calprotectin. If it's less than 50, it's most likely functional. Above 150, it's caused with inflammatory bowel disease or others, like infectious, like drugs.
so still it is high but not aggressive for inflammatory bowel disease. Okay, next lab.
So for first it was negative. Patient will be proceeded with abdominal X-rays and chest X-ray for the patient. Again, it was
Looks remarkable. So what is the next step?
It's constipated. Just like, rectum actions.
Go then.
The second one in the middle,
Yeah.
you can see a lot of air in the color.
But the other one, there is some gases. Yeah. So next step.
Ultrasound, show any lymph nodes, say lymph nodes.
Not done. So on this stage, ultrasound was not done. So what we did next?
So this we booked the patient for the transfusion. She was having low hemoglobin with the bleeding, and also iron studies where her came low, so iron supplementations through IV lines were given to her. And again, we proceeded with the colonoscopy to make sure what is the underlying cause for this patient.
So patient, she came for colonoscopy with the hemoglobin of 6.5. She was symptomatic. We discussed with her. She preferred to receive blood and to manage her anemia before colonoscopy. So she was admitted and given 2 units of blood transfusion. Go back. Yeah, given 2 units of blood transfusion. Then booked for IV iron, in the short stay as outpatient and given appointment after 1 week for colonoscopy.
Excuse me, معلش indication of IBI when the patient will receive transfusion and she's anemic, she's microscopic. Should you do it now at this time?
The
Give iron?
colonoscopy.
No iron.
This is the advice of the hematologist. The consultant hematology was involved, and he advised not to give the iron at the same time because of the reaction to blood transfusion or iron, so he advised to give it later on.
I mean, but my priority here, I mean, to do for the blood transfusion, the colonoscopy should be done as soon as possible.
By the way, she was
I
admitted.
can deal with it as maintenance therapy or later on.
By the way, when she was admitted for blood transfusion, she denied any history of rectal bleeding for the prior 2 weeks. So no more active bleeding. That's why we elect to delay the procedure. And no more diarrhea. Yes.
Just comment about the IV iron in this patient. It takes 15 minutes to give them all their need in 15 minutes. It's not, it's very simple as they pronounce it. It's a new molecule. It's not
Pharyngeal.
Yeah, no, we have the,
No.
yeah, sucrose. The other one, not the new one. So we are looking for that.
So during this visit, she received only blood next, and we booked her for IBI. When she came for the receipt of the IBI, which was 2 days after she presented for the blood, when arrived to the short stay clinic, the patient started to feel dizziness and near fainting. Also, she felt palpitation and severe abdominal pain that was located to the center and to the lower region also. So we stopped the IVI and we took the patient directly for the emergency for further evaluation regarding that pain. So the patient was seen by our emergency physician, stabilized the patient, IV fluid were given to her, and we took a history from her after stabilization. So she gave us a history that she had 1 day prior to her coming, that she had diarrhea, a bloody one, 10 to 13 times per day. The diarrhea is awakening her from sleep, and it was associated with mild abdominal pain. This is why she didn't seek that fast. She denied fever, she denied chest pain. There was no loss of consciousness and no shortness of breath were associated with these manifestations. During her examination, she was alert, oriented, and conscious, laying in bed, looks unwell, and she was in bed. However, she was not distressed. Vitally, she was having a temperature of 36.7, blood pressure of 101 over 60 to 56. Heart rate is ranging from 90 to 105. The respiratory rate was 20, satin 96% room air. Again, the BMI was stable comparable to her previous visit. We did abdominal examination for her, tenderness on superficial and also deep palpation. That was located in the epigastrum and left quadrant of the abdomen, and the rest of the examination was unremarkable for her.
So again, after she received the blood, she went home. 1 day later, she developed bloody diarrhea 10 to 13 times per day, abdominal pain from vomiting 1 to 2 times. When she came to receive the IV iron, before she received the iron, she developed tachycardia, palpitation, pre-syncope, severe abdominal pain.
Different than her.
Different totally from the previous scenario.
You know, with this anemia, I think she denied the bloody diarrhea. I think it's a chronic. It's not new with this anemia. Yeah. Do you think it's a 1 day?
We are taking the information.
Yeah, but initially she mentioned that no. And
No,
with this,
yes, for
with
the
him
last
would be
2 weeks
6.
prior to the current
Yeah.
presentation, no.
With him would be 6.
Yes.
That,
6 before that.
so onset of IBD, sarcoplastic, this is number 1.
But how to explain acute abdominal pain? Sudden onset acute abdominal pain with bloody diarrhea.
Also, we have to think about bowel ischemia here. Because of the short history and blood diarrhea, bowel ischemia one of the different things.
Less likely, but
or interstitial or something.
with we mentioned earlier, vasculitis can cause ischemic injuries, yes.
How to say it?
about the examination of that and tenderness in the right or left wrist? Because you have to keep our mind hooked. He's young, terminal vein. What about the examination of the right?
Examination tender or offer.
Any rebound tenderness in the right or left?
No rebound tenderness, no guarding.
Just this, her pain is related to food intake, this attack of severe pain. And it's
Pain when
ischemic.
she's walking to receive the iron. When she arrived to the work to receive the iron, she suddenly had severe abdominal pain.
Palpitation, tachycardia. So this is something new.
But she had one day a history of bloody diarrhea. No. All family members are healthy. Healthy family. All of the family members, the parents, brothers, sisters, all are healthy.
So other differential, if not related to her current problem, like pancreatitis, as they said yesterday. I mean, you should write your differential in this case because it's really the presentation, just sudden pain. Vasculitis, I'm still thinking it's
Just
most likely in this case.
it's reasonable to do CT before doing colonoscopy in this case.
Now, what is the next step?
CT.
CT with contrast.
With all-
Pause with colonoscopy,
Later, with abdominal pain.
CT,
Safe.
CT, okay. Now, don't go to CT, go with the
So we took basic labs for the patient. Hemoglobin was stable for 9.6. The BBC were 13.9. The platelets were 340. LFT was unremarkable, and UND for hers also were unremarkable. Again, we took inflammatory markers, both of them now raised, 66 for the ESR and 34.9 for the CRP. Again, we repeated stool cultures for him and came up positive for C. diff. And calprotectin was building at that time. We repeated for us, but it was building at that time. As most of you mentioned, we proceeded with the CT for this patient.
Wait, before we mention the CT, what you can show the image. So now we have C. diff positive, we have rising. CRP was normal before when she came to the clinic. Now it's rising. So we can blame the C. diff as the cause of the whole scenario.
I think this patient had background inflammatory process. IBD patient is predisposed to develop C. diff. So still, C. diff I will be thinking as secondary, not as a primary.
So can you show
I
the
mean, Muhammad, again, I mean, the risk of C. diff in this patient being young, still we should think of what's the possible risk factor in this patient to have C. diff. Possible she has background IBD, this is a risk. Any recent antibiotics, I mean, taken recently for the patient to think might she had antibiotic-related or associated diarrhea, which is the diarrhea different from bad to C. difficile. So just associated diarrhea in this patient. Did she take any antibiotics recently for the last?
metronidazole, but before 3-4 months. So she underwent CT abdomen because of the acute abdomen. She found to have show the ITC, inferior vena cava. Yes. So she has extensive thrombosis of the inferior vena cava vein, extending down to the internal iliac veins and external iliac as well. So she has extensive thrombosis. As well, she has involvement of the terminal ileum. There was a narrowing of the terminal ileum with thickening and diffuse thickening of the colonic wall. So,
RBD with thrombosis.
IBD thrombosis. Okay. So next. With the history of palpitation and basal copy, we thought of BE after the finding of inferior vena cava thrombosis. We sent her for CT angio and confirmed the presence of BE as well. So she had pulmonary embolism, extensive thrombosis of the inferior vena cava, and internal iliac veins as well.
So the CT showed that the patient is having bilateral pulmonary embolism at both lobar, both segmental and left subsegmental lower lobes pulmonary branches. Can you proceed it for the morning?
Because the CT in the report initially was misleading, they were raising the possibility of lymphoma as well because there was significant lymphadenopathy. So we elected to proceed with MRI enterography as well because of the involvement of the terminal ileum. MRI came back showing the same finding with thrombosis and extensive pancreatitis, inflammation of the whole colon, with mild involvement of the terminal ileum but no narrowing, and the other part of the small bowel are free. So what is the next step now?
We have to schedule it.
Colonoscopy. Patient has BA, how do we move her with the bed? She might adjust anticoagulation, she's bleeding. The day she was admitted, she was bleeding.
Some of the studies, heparin will do no harm in this patient, but it might induce reduction in such patients. Although it is not documented, but I think conventional heparin, inclusion heparin, I think should be started because thrombosis, I think, should be managed before you go for colonoscopy.
So we have three choices here, either colonoscopy as a first next step now. Colonoscopy, low molecular weight heparin, unfractionated heparin.
And I think I'll go with heparin, and if by bedside, just simple flexible sigmoid.
Goes with heparin.
Heparin and sigmoid is fluctuating.
As a patient,
Colonoscopy, goes with colonoscopy before heparin.
What about CDIF? She started on.
We started her on the treatment of C. diff, oral vancomycin and diphenhydramidazole.
Just regarding the management, so the life-saving approach is heparin in this patient. Since we are dealing with B, priority comes for heparin as a first-line therapy. Then I can consider flexible sigmoidoscopy shortly just to take biopsy to confirm diagnosis and start steroid, IV steroid at the same time.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of the case. There is predisposing factor for this clotting or this thrombosis?
No.
No.
Being newly if turned to be IBD later on, we will know. But AF? No, she has no AF. She is young, 15 years old.
You have done protein C or protein S or
She just diagnosed.
antitropin 3?
We don't know. We don't have the result yet.
She should not do them during the acute.
Yes, we should not do them. So, patient was started in enoxaparin. She was doing well, but again, she's continuing to have bleeding. We discussed that with the hematologist and the advice not to touch the patient and not to do any procedure till 4 weeks, minimum of 4 weeks from full anticoagulation to avoid the risk of complication of pulmonary embolism and thrombosis.
I think if she continues to bleed, IVC filter is a good choice for her.
And there is a B.
Yeah, it's preventative.
Okay. So patients still continue to have bloody diarrhea, abdominal pain. So I think we cannot wait 4 weeks to have a good anticoagulation. I reviewed some guidelines and articles. They said not to stop anticoagulation in this acute thrombosis like BE or extensive thrombosis, minimum of 3 months. We should undergo full anticoagulation. So we are in dilemma.
I don't think so. That sigmoidoscopy with a mucosal biopsy is a contraindication in patient on heparin. So will not harm.
We will have a study
Probably,
on anticoagulation, biopsy anticoagulation.
mucosal. It's a low risk.
So just I think regarding the risk of bleeding in this patient, it's a mucosal bleeding. We are not dealing with arterial bleeding or brisket bleeding that it might, compromise the patient's life. I think there is no doubt that heparin is indicated It's the most top priority in this patient.
Yeah, we agreed about it. Now we're talking about the procedure. Yes.
I think it's also reasonable to check in this lady all the thrombophilia profile, protein S. No, it's before surgery.
I think, it's our decision to go for diagnosis with this patient. Steroid will change a lot of things in this patient, but you cannot give it empirically in this patient unless you have at least a clear diagnosis. I think flexible sigmoid should be done. I can do it bedside while the patient is anticoagulated. I will not wait for hematology recommendation to go after 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever. And she should be anticoagulated and continue the anticoagulation aggressive. If she's not responding or she's not approaching the therapeutic level or there is significant bleed in the patient, there is hemodynamic instability related to the bleeding, I think we should go to another way, rather than anticoagulation, to manage this patient with intervention, other intervention, to treat the symptoms.
So this patient underwent IVC filter insertion within the first week, within 3 days. Then anticoagulation was continued on heparin. She was, the same day she underwent IVC filter, she went for sigmoidoscopy. Sigmoidoscopy done with biopsy. And this is the image of the sigmoid. You cannot see. So she has continuous erythema, trial mucosa, easy bleeding, picture suggestive of ulcerative colitis. Biopsy taken and came back. Moderate active colitis, no CMV. It mentioned that there is no chronicity, however, we treat it as ulcerative colitis. Patient received IV steroid, then planned to go home. After discharge home, she went on still on heparin, sub-Q, and planned to be admitted after 2 weeks for IVC filter removal and to upgrade the anticoagulation from heparin to oral warfarin. Unfortunately, she developed hepatitis secondary to 5-ASA. Her enzymes went up to 300, 400, 500. We stopped 5-ASA. Enzymes coming down. We maintained her on steroid, and she came before admission. By 1 day, she came to ER, severe abdominal pain, and 2 episodes of rectal bleeding fresh. We were afraid from expansion of the thrombus. CT abdomen was done and showed regression or resolution of thrombosis. So she responded well to the anticoagulation, but remnant mild colitis is there.
So this is the course of the patient during the resolution of the hospital. So we anticoagulated, we consulted for rheumatology, vascular surgery, and IVC filter was in place, and sigmoidoscopy was done and received our diagnosis and treatment recommends for her. Now we will review what's happened to other patients and we'll compare it to cases which has been published in the literature. So we can see that the initial presentation or one of the initial presentation for the IBD or inflammatory bowel diseases can be as simple as being thromboembolism. You don't need to have a manifestation and then you would have inflammation. Here we can see that they have done a study and they've allocated 2,800 patients. Out of those, number 157 were having a history of EDE. Now, we can see that they have a deep vein thrombosis in 90% of the cases, pulmonary embolism in 15% of the cases. However, other things were involved in those patients. Cerebral, portal, mesenteric, and splenic, and even irregular vein thrombosis was included. Now, here we can see a case of a 27-year-old male who was admitted to the hospital, and he was having an acute flare of ulcerative colitis, treated well with steroid, 5-ASA. Discharged the patient 10 days later, he came back suffering from a weakness on the right side, and also he developed an episode of seizures. CT scan for the patient was done for him, and MRI showed that the patient is having left paramedian to right cortical infarct, secondary to cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. Again, there was no provocative factors other than the IBD in this patient. All hematological investigation from the video workup for him came up negative. And it does not also even include only veins. Arteries also were implicated in IBD. So here you can see a patient with 47 years old male who came with having with a new onset of seizures, and they found out that the patient is having, during the lab examination, that he was having cold bare skin. They did an examination, the heart pulse for the patient was not palpable for him. Investigation carried out for him, and found out also that he's having it included the this is the proximal, left complete proximal radial artery occlusion. So it's got both causes for arteries and vein. Here we can see another presentation for such as a patient for thromboembolic strong presented in a teenage patient. Again, it involved most of the vein in her body. No propactive factors were found in hers. Thrombophilia screening came up negative. The only indicated factor was in hers is the IBD. Now, when we look for the IBD, what predisposes those patients to develop a thrombosis? Is it inflammation, or they have something in their background? It's a vicious cycle. Thrombosis can lead to inflammation, inflammation can lead to thrombosis. So these all goes together. And we can summarize the causes in it that the patient will be fistulizing, they will have an abscess, acute flare-up, surgery, embolization, dehydration, persistent line for resuscitation for those kind of patients also will lead to provoking the patient to go into venous thromboembolism. Again, when we go back to the literature and we try to identify why they are predisposed to have such a high possibility or high probability of having venous thromboembolism, we will find that they try to implicate the factor 5, factor 8, and antithrombin 3 protein S and C in those kind of patients. However, again, it's a multifactorial. No a single agent were identified in such a patient. Now, the issue with this kind of patient that whenever they develop this complication, you are talking about 25% of the mortality rate. What have we done to them in prophylaxis? So whenever a patient is admitted to a hospital, is going to be comfortable with enoxaparin or with anticoagulation treatment. This is good and fine. However, where does the complication is developing? 80% of the cases they will come to the hospital with the complication. So it means that 80% or most of the cases of venous thromboembolism will happen as an outpatient, and that will happen as an inpatient. Thank you very much.
She had side effect to 5-ASA. So I think it is wise to start her on anti-TNF. For anti-TNF. Or vedolizumab. Who's with anti-TNF? Who's with vedolizumab? Yeah, okay. So we'll see, we'll give the choice to the patient because of the side effect.
Why not from the beginning?
Either biological treatment. This patient had severe bad colitis with MySCAR of 3. I think biological from the beginning, either vedolizumab or anti-TNF, rather than 5-ASA in her case, because she had severe colitis.
She responded well to the steroid. The second thing, we did not do the workup for anti-TNF initially, so we don't have like quantiferol. Usually take time to be released. So we started with steroid.
Historically, they mentioned it is mild to moderate type of colitis.
She responded very well.
Based on the EMA, there is no deeper sense. Steroid is it, but I think with associated thrombosis, she should be in biological.
So I want to ask the resident, since you are managing this case, what are the take-home messages from this case? So what do you think? So after this complication and the great management that you have done, what are the take-home messages from this case?
IBD is not only the bloody diarrhea and abdominal pain. The patient could present with a complication of it. They could present with severe venous thromboembolism. The other thing, what's proposed by you, that the enoxaparin is a first-line treatment even if the patient is having a bloody diarrhea. So it's a life-saving for her, especially because of the underlying cause, the underlying condition she has.
I think the take-home message, the patient was treated in the private sector, has without further investigation. Nobody advised her to do colonoscopy, despite being having anemia and having bloody diarrhea. So this is the
Diarrhea about 3 weeks deserved. We move to the next case now. Thanks very much. Did a great job. Now we'll move to the
thank you for your attendance and thank you for Dr. Beller to allow me to present this case. It is a short case. This is a 69 years old female, known case of hypertension and amlodipine 5 mg BO1 daily since 7 years, and also a known case of idiopathic thrombocytopenia diagnosed before 6 years back, started on azathioprine 50 mg BO1 daily, but the patient stopped azathioprine for the last 1 month by herself. This patient came to our hospital complaining of fever and jaundice, poor appetite, and mild weight loss for the last 2 weeks. She denied any history of contact with sick patient, or raw milk ingestion, or blood transfusion, or travel, or any herbal medicine intake, or alcohol ingestion, and also she denied any history of tattoos or non-steroidal intake, and also there is no history of skin rash or family history of malignancy. On examination, the patient vitally she is stable, her blood pressure is 140/80 with no orthostatic hypotension, her pulse is 94 regular per minute, and her saturation is 95 to 98% room air, and her temperature is fluctuating from 37 to 39 documented degree, and patient looks jaundice, but there is no other stigmata of chronic liver disease.
Any thought about this patient?
So what is the next step?
She's a 69 years old lady. She's having a background of ITP. She's having a background of ITP. She was given steroids. One was done at that time, and they confirmed diagnosis. And then she was maintained on Imuran, 50 mg. And the patient, she said that over the last few weeks, she was not taking Imuran. She came with fever, abdominal pain, and jaundice. For the last 2 weeks. Examination, apart from jaundice, any tenderness in the bed?
No. There is no tenderness in the abdomen, and no acromegaly, and no vertebral fluid. Yes.
Just I want to propose one differential diagnosis here, not necessarily is applied in this case, but it's very important. One of the important cause of thrombocytopenia in outpatient setting is liver cirrhosis. So I have seen 2 patients in the last 1 year labeled as ITB, presented with varicose bleeding. But she could have baseline chronic liver disease, not diagnosed, explain her thrombocytopenia, and now she's presented with decompensation.
The question is it Imuran was stopped because of what? 2 weeks ago?
The patient, she felt well, and every now and then in the hematology, they will tell her cases normal. This is why she stopped. But initially, she was classical ITP. Normal was done.
So I was to find chronic liver disease about
There is no problem. There is no problem.
So the differential diagnosis why? Jaundice and weight loss and fever.
Now, abdominal pain, fever, and
an abscess or something related to the
common things are common. Fever, abdominal pain, jaundice. What are the differences? Maybe cholecystitis, cholecystitis, whatever.
no pain.
There is no pain, only fever and jaundice. And background of ITP. And Imuran was stopped about a few weeks ago. Any other differential diagnosis?
Usually fever, jaundice, look for the infection, then malignancy. Infectious disease like lymphoma, tuberculosis.
The history is only a few weeks.
Infection.
Sorry, there are some cases of ITB reported with HU, human hemolytic urine anemia. They can have thrombocytopenia and high level anxiety, which called HUS.
But this patient diagnosed ITP a few years ago. She responded well to the treatment. Initially steroid, and then they gave it.
diagnosis. There's hemolytic uremic syndrome associated with ITP.
No, TTP.
Huh?
TTP.
He said ITP.
Yeah,
TTP.
TTP is not, Schwartz is not with
No ITP,
ITP.
And I got your point, but usually ITP is associated with another autoimmune disease, because ITP is considered as maybe autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
If you like to tell like
That's right, yes.
maybe associated
It
with
is
another.
it is the TTP. It's
Sometimes it might be the representation of ITP. Few patients tend to be maybe systemic lupus. We have few cases like this. There is an association with systemic lupus. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. This patient admitted and we start investigation. So what first investigation we need to do for the patient? Okay. This is the CBC for the patient. Here white blood cell is 5.3, hemoglobin is 12, and the platelet at that time is 206.
Okay. Other blood test.
Yeah, this is her liver function 2 months before this presentation. ALT is 13, AST is 21, phosphate is 120, and her bilirubin is normal, and her albumin is 46. So I think this excludes that the patient have any history of chronic liver disease or any liver cirrhosis.
AST more than ALT. ALT, AST more than ALT.
Okay.
At least around women is normal, there is no evidence of
It will make the liver disease is less likely at least.
So shows the LFT or
This is the LFT 2 months before the presentation, and this now, this liver function on that admission when she came. The ALT is 73, AST 153, alkaline phosphate is 2076, bilirubin is jumping to 107, mainly conjugated, and JAMA-T is 531, and her albumin is 26.
So it looks like polycystic patient. So what are you going to do next? Ultrasound.
This is electrolyte function on the admission also, and we started to take a lab test to rule out any cause of hepatitis. So hepatitis diagnostic panel came negative, and also HIV came negative. Also for the cause of the fever we investigate, so we requested varicella, which came negative. Also the workup, maybe some of the colleagues said this can be the differential is autoimmune, so we requested the workup for autoimmune. The antimitochondrial came negative, but the anti-smooth muscle antibody came borderline, and liver kidney microsomal antibody came negative. Regarding the investigation for this fever, we did X-ray test for her beyond the lateral, which came normal, and ultrasound as requested by the colleague done. The liver looks not cirrhotic, it is smooth outline border, no masses, no lesion, but the gallbladder.
What do you think about this ultrasound? This is for the audience.
There's gallstones.
There is gallstones. There is an obvious gallstones. CBD is normal. CBD is normal. There is gallstones. There is a shadow.
Yeah, this is multiple small gallstone in the gallbladder. This is the shadow of the gallstone, but as mentioned by the report of the ultrasound, this is another photo for the ultrasound. The liver is okay, the spleen is okay, and this is the report of the ultrasound. The liver is very normal in size, diffuse increased echogenicity in keeping with diffuse fat infiltration, but as mentioned, no focal lesion or masses, no intrahepatic biliary dilatation. The portal vein is beta, the common bile duct is not dilated, but the gallbladder distended and filled with multiple stone, but no gallbladder wall thickening or polycystic fluid noted.
The fever is still high.
Yes.
Ultrasound, there is gallstones. What is the rest? Patient is still having fever, but there is no.
When you are dealing with ultrasound 1000, the two important differential diagnoses is sepsis versus malignant malignant biliary obstruction. But I think we need to go for the MRCB in this patient.
MRCB, that is. Because there is gallstones, we need to make sure that CBD,
Or this is
there is no pathology in the system.
Very high advanced stage here.
Yeah.
You could have it with many issues, with the granulocytic disease, we can have. I wouldn't go for this because the enzyme is normal. So that's really intrahepatic cholestasis. Since you rule out, you need just to rule out extrahepatic cholestasis with MRCB. Once it's ruled out, then the next step will be liver biopsy.
Sorry, what MRCB is going to add for you? If you
The MRCB, because actually this patient
no
was, when
dilatation,
the patient referred to us,
looks fine.
they referred a patient for ERCB at the beginning. The patient is having fever, jaundice, because they think that they think this patient she has got cholecystitis.
She had, I think it must be okay.
So MRCB
If she had the primary sclerosing cholangitis or something that you wouldn't see it by ultrasound.
Or sometimes because ultrasound
this will help.
MRCB might help.
It's okay to go for MRCB. I think it's fine to
MRCB
look to the biliary tree.
Especially there is gallstones. They might be overlooked or missed.
Acute is just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
PSC and BBC will not represent 2 weeks.
What about the
Very good.
pancreatic cancer?
The aim of our MRCB is to make sure that there is no CBD stones. Because the patient is required. We don't like for this.
What about salmonellosis?
And also
Salmonellosis. Salmonellosis. Is the patient with blood culture?
Blood culture negative.
Negative.
I mean, pancreatic disease.
But you didn't see a review that that is high and diabetes.
And there is no comment.
The C9, D9 is not.
No, I think if it is pancreatic CA, you will see something in the ultrasound dilated because the CA will lock down, will not block somewhere else. There's no biliary dilation.
It's intrahepatic.
That's why we did the MRCB. Do you agree for MRCB?
It's okay.
Yes, as a colleague advice, we did MRI MRCB at least to delineate the anatomy even before if we decide to do ARCB. This is a MRCB. There is, as mentioned by the ultrasound, it didn't add more benefit after the ultrasound. The common bile duct is not dilated, the gallbladder is stone. And this is the report of the MRCB, multiple gallstones within the gallbladder with no different evidence of cholecystitis. The common bile duct diameter is not dilated and no different stone, and there is only small cyst in the right kidney about 1.5 centimeter. And the pancreas appear in the MRI MRCB looks normal also, no lesion in the pancreas.
And they said, see no lymph node at all. No?
Yes, and even by the abdominal examination, we didn't palpate any lymph node either in the axilla or in the coronary.
So no lymph nodes, blood culture negative, procedure negative, HIV negative, hepatitis negative, and patient is still having fever, and this finding. LDH is not that high. LDH, what
Yes, none, it is elevated.
Did she respond to antibiotics? Did she respond?
Not respond to antibiotics.
Are we dealing with side effect, liver-related side effect as a theory?
The patient, she stopped Alzheimer's about 2 weeks ago.
I think it may be lymphoma. Lymphographic disorder that involving the liver.
In the MRI, CT scan, they from us.
No, normally they don't diffuse. Sometimes diffuse.
Liver biopsy.
And clinical, there is no liver.
All this is like.
What's the LDH?
460. It is double the normal, the upper limit.
So what do you think now?
Liver biopsy.
Liver biopsy? You agree for liver biopsy?
For lymphoma.
What is the
Go
group
for
for liver?
liver biopsy or.
There's no liver biopsy.
There's no biopsy.
One thing which is rare, but the typical of sarcoidosis, ACE level is legitimate. Or granulomatous
The
disease,
biopsy.
hidradenitis suppurativa.
And that
But
that
this
is
is
how long?
What?
What about
2 weeks before the presentation.
2 weeks? It's 2 weeks and for sitting illness with fever.
For
rare virus infection, cytomegalovirus, Epstein-Barr virus.
This is ruled out, all came negative.
All negative?
Yes.
It's cholestatic, not urine.
Yes.
Could the ministry have done better? Because they did a photo of ITP with autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease can be...
Zero compliant, normal.
Although her albumin is low, quite
Yes.
within 2 months.
But she don't have ascites in the abdomen, she don't have lower lymphedema.
Huh?
But she don't have lower lymphedema, she don't have ascites in the ultrasound or by examination.
So you agree for liver biopsy, all of you?
Liver biopsy.
Shall we do CT before?
Show the CT.
We did CT again to try to define any lymph node, but unfortunately,
What do you usually do in practice if you have a patient with fever like this and you didn't get a diagnosis? Usually do PET scan. PET scan can localize the area of the infection. Not 3 times. Echo negative.
done echo negative.
So you don't have the PET scan, the CT scan, MRI, or liver biopsy. Yeah. Issue is a tissue.
Actually, we did CAP CT, chest, abdomen, pelvis. The only finding with the CT, like sub-centimeter mediastinal lymph node, probably reactive in the etiology for further surveillance. This is the only finding in the CT.
Is this lymph node significant? The radiology significant is lymph nodes are not significant.
This is the LDH as requested by Dr. Fahd. It is 494 doubles upper limit. So,
PVD and corticosteroid, we have.
Corticosteroid, in fact, when we did the liver biopsy, our thought was the TB. We said better to do the liver biopsy rather than corticosteroid. In our hospital, then you have to wait for Wednesday or Thursday. So we did the liver biopsy for that.
Connective tissue disease investigation.
Yeah, negative.
negative.
So liver biopsy.
Yes, this is the liver biopsy we did.
So we need you to read the liver biopsy.
Anyone see
Anyone can see that?
something abnormal?
Could it be sinusoidal dilatation?
No.
I know for me, what I think there is something on the right, and there is something on the right. It's very clear
We
there is
don't have
something.
a marker here, but this is something. This one.
Just a sign.
No. No.
You are not review. This is a classical histopathology. Classical histopathology.
What is the name of the cell in the
Rahman, can you point
mouse pointer? كيف عملت البوينتر عبد الرحمن؟
So Rahman, go back to the low power. Low power, I think.
Multi-nucleated. It's multi-nucleated.
Go to the low power.
Some of the cell is multinucleated. Some of the cell is double nucleus.
A lot of lymphocytes.
Yes.
But every cell lymphocyte فيها 2 cells.
This is lymphoma. This is
What is the name of the cells?
What is the name for this? What is the name of this cell?
Three cells.
But this is the name cells.
Yes.
بيقول move يعني.
This is the one. The one in the left side, redistributed cell. This is other types like polymorphic as mentioned. This is mononuclear. This is multinucleated or popcorn cell or lacunar cell. This is the pathological sign for lymphoma.
But this is classical for Hodgkin lymphoma.
Now the biopsy came by the histopathology as classical Hodgkin lymphoma. By the stain it is positive for CD30 and CD20, and they are negative for CD15 and CD45. So now the diagnosis came as
CD30. What is positive for CD30 and classical extracerebral vascular. So, because we are rendering outer vascular lymphoma came without any, there is no bilateral lymphadenopathy, screen is not.
So primary liver lymphoma.
Yeah, this is the question. Is it a primary
No,
liver lymphoma or is it?
you need to staging it, and that's something else. You need to stage.
She had this CT scan that
When,
no, not the pathology in the liver.
No, you need bed CT, not CT. That's different.
Bone marrow?
Does the neuron cause this vascular lymphoma? Does the neuron most of the time causing ECG?
We didn't go.
Staging and make sure that it's bone marrow wasn't suggested in this patient.
Bone marrow was suggested for the patient that which refused. Which had liver biopsy, she refused to do another.
It's well known there is an entity called isolated lymphoma.
And the hematology actually, they think that when there is no peripheral process, there is nothing to suggest abnormal cells, they said there is no need for lymphoma. But there is no lymphomas. The case of lymphoma.
We have some.
And the screen is only 1.5 centimeters. So the screen is not large. This is why they consider this patient as isolated. Primary liver lymphoma. Which is very rare. This is very rare. Yeah.
To say isolated, you need really to rule out the bone marrow involved. You need to rule out with bed CT scan. There is no other places, honestly.
In the past, people they do the bone marrow, but nowadays you have criteria for this. From Rahman, you have to diagnose primary liver lymphoma. It is a rare diagnosis. Actually, in fact, most of the primary liver lymphoma are non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Not Hodgkin?
Yeah, non-Hodgkin. This patient is having
Usually
Hodgkin
it comes
lymphoma.
with mass, liver mass.
And there is no mass.
Yes.
There is no mass here.
Yes.
But the question, does the immuron cause this? Because the patient was an immuron.
Yes, well known.
In this region, there is very rare. Rarely can cause Hodgkin lymphoma. Most of the time, it's can cause non-Hodgkin.
How long she's been in the mirror?
6 years.
6 years.
But she had a bone marrow before she started.
And the other question that maybe ITP is associated with Hodgkin lymphoma. Sometimes Hodgkin lymphoma they present initially with ITP, and later on the resolution. There is association between ITP and Hodgkin.
Was the bone marrow done?
Yes.
At
the time of the diagnosis of ITP, done in bone marrow.
Yeah. So she had bone marrow. A few years ago, it was only ITP.
You need to review it actually. Sometimes we go back to something and we find something.
Yeah.
Many times we have like this, and we go back to whatever has been done in the past, and actually there's some clue at that time, there's something.
They review
for 6 years.
They review the bone marrow in our hospital and
Maybe with the immuron it's
it was ITP. They review also this histopathology.
Sure that
Histopathology is
she received steroid,
Yeah.
she received immuron,
Yeah.
suppressed the lymphoma.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a confirmation that if you go back to the bone marrow, maybe there's something.
Bone marrow was reviewed in 2 hospitals. Bone marrow reviewed in 2 hospitals this time. Because this time the hematology, they reviewed the histopathology, the bone marrow before and this time. So they think this is a primary liver Hodgkin lymphoma.
But we don't have that CT because that will be very
We did have
Don't have in our hospital.
As I said before, fever for infection and malignancy.
This is the rule. There is no liver mass. If there is no liver mass for cystic jaundice, you have to write to cardiac before you have to do liver biopsy just to make sure you are not missing lymphoma or TB. At the beginning, my impression was a tuberculosis.
Actually, very high class says like this, tell you there is some element of the process.
Yes.
It seemed to be 2 months ago was normal outcomes.
Yes.
Now 1,000. This is very aggressive.
Yes.
This is usually typical for Burkitt's rather than
Yes. It take time.
What's happening about just given
And now the patient referred to the oncology team and they started here on chemotherapy, doxorubicin, hydrocortisone, bleomycin, vincristine and dicarbazine, doing very well and came for follow-up and we repeated the CT 3 months post-treatment. This sub-centimeter lymph nodes, the one appearing in the previous CT, it is now revolution of the few enlarged mediastinal lymph node or hilar lymph node, no more any lymph node. And the liver function test repeated both 5 months post the treatment and came again like normal. Even the albumin became 40, the bilirubin normal, alkaline phosphatase almost normal, and the enzyme is normal. Now, is this primary or secondary hepatic lymphoma? How we can differentiate? There is a study which is published in American Journal of Clinical Pathology about this one, retrospective study of clinical and cytomorphologic finding, and the result of this study said that the hepatic lymphoma, and especially the primary hepatic lymphoma, most commonly show diffuse large beta cell lymphoma phenotype and have a poor prognosis. The median survival is about 7 months, and the primary hepatic lymphoma is strongly associated with HIV, but in our patient, negative HIV. So what is the definition now for primary hepatic lymphoma? It should be confined, or the disease is confined to the liver only as a presentation. And there is a criteria which is published by scientist Lee. This is interested in lymphoma study, and given as 3 criteria to diagnose primary hepatic lymphoma. 1, the symptom caused mainly by the liver involvement as a presentation, like our patient. Absence of distant lymphadenopathy, bulbary clinically at the presentation or detected during staging radiological study, like our patient. And also absence of leukomic blood involvement in the peripheral blood smear. That's why we didn't do bone marrow. The primary hepatic lymphoma, this is another retrospective multi-center study done by Center Network Study and published in a journal named Rare Tumor in 2016. And the conclusion of this study showed that the patient with primary hepatic lymphoma had relatively better prognosis than those reported elsewhere. And it is important to recognize this rare disease entity as it is respond well to the therapy, and a better prognosis than hepatocellular carcinoma or systemic lymphoma secondary involving the liver. This multi-center prospective study also still need to establish a guideline and outcome and prognostic factor for this disease. Now is the question, is a primary hepatic lymphoma, it is a disease entity? This is published by Young Song Gan in 2017, and he said the liver is a bowl like the soil for malignant lymphoma, like a seed to grow, and most reports about primary hepatic lymphoma are published in the form of case study. Non-prospective research have been found till now. It is difficult for the radiology to define it as lymphoma in the liver as primary or secondary, and it still like a puzzle. The pathology and only involving multidisciplinary oncologist specialist that another malignant tumor may develop in liver of patient with lymphoma, making this thing are more complicated. The last slide, the primary hepatic lymphoma, most reports are diffuse large beta cell lymphoma, but this type is usually aggressive and involve multiple organs. And to diagnose primary hepatic lymphoma, it should be involved the liver only at least 6 months after the initial diagnosis of the lymphoma. So the diagnosis of primary hepatic lymphoma at first liver biopsy is problematic and still conflicting with this definition. Thank you.
I hope that you are convinced that this is the primary positive lymphoma.
I'm asking only, I really don't know, but is the Epstein-Barr virus any relation to such?
Yeah, in theory they said there is a relation between hepatitis C, hepatitis B, HIV, and EB virus. Yeah. In our case, in our patient, both these are.
You check for EB virus?
Yeah, it's related.
Any published study about Hodgkin lymphoma? Any published data about Hodgkin?
Most of the cases are not Hodgkin. But they say most of the primary liver lymphoma are B-cell.
Good cancer point.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for the secretary for speaking. And inshallah, good team. I don't know who was Ibrahim Abedallah was there. He was very good call. Thank you for interesting two persons. And as appreciation for the speakers, we have decided that the SGA give them so much for this, and also for the president who was here. It's just appreciation for their effort, and thank you so much.
He is up to internal medicine. He's internal medicine.
Up to. So we'll bring him to GI, inshallah. In a couple of years, he will be, inshallah, a GI fellow. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation.
For the organization.
One more just a reminder, inshallah, next time again, the winter would like to start at 8 o'clock, and in the summer will be moving to 8:30, but now it's 9:15. So inshallah, I think next year will be on the National Day in December, and after that, we'll be still starting at 8. Thank you so much.
أكيد عثمان يا